Hi, good afternoon. Oh my word, what a day, right? So my name is Marissa, and I want to welcome you to this amazing community of women empowering women for on the journey of self-love. So, is it okay to have a shitty day? Is it okay to have a negative day when you're trying to live a positive life? I don't know. What do you think, right? Like, as you tune in, tell me where you're from. If you're watching the replay, hit number 2 or type replay. Is it okay to have a negative attitude when you're trying to change your life? So, going through my news feed, I see the kind of negativity that I read upon myself on a daily basis, and that was brutal. As you tune in, tell me who you are. It doesn't always tell me who's tuning in, so that I can say hi and tell me where you're from. But is it okay to have a negative attitude when you're trying to change your life or change your mindset or be more positive, right? Because the thoughts that you create do ultimately create your reality. Like, when I look at my on this day from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, oh my God, the amount of negativity I infested in my life was insane. But my mindset is completely different now than it was then, okay? So, is it okay, to have a negative day? You don't always have to be positive. You don't always have to think positively. If you do, you aren't normal, right? You aren't normal. If you are always positive and you never have a shitty attitude, if you are always positive and you never have a bad day, then, you're psychotic. You're not normal, because you have no empathy, you have no feelings, really. Then that would mean that you're not normal. You don't have feelings, and we all have feelings, right? It's a matter of what we do with those feelings. So sometimes I allow myself to sit in it, even though it's bad, even though I'm sorry, I'm in a really crappy mood right now, and I apologize to the people around me. Mocha, seriously? You just went outside. Can you relax for 5 seconds? Dog. And it's raining. And that doesn't help, my attitude either. The crappy weather does not help my attitude ever. So anyway, Danny, can you bring the dog out? I think that it's okay to have a crappy attitude once in a while. It's when we live in that crappy attitude. If you were to look at my on this day, 3 years ago, I lived in my crappy attitude. I lived there. And I allowed it to fester. And that was part of my, depression, and I allowed the thoughts in my head and the anxiety to just, continue and to creep in and to stay there and to, wallow in my own self-pity. Really, that's what I did. So, I do think that you can... Hi, Jenny. I do think that you can have a negative attitude once in a while. I just don't think we can park ourselves there and live there. And if you would have asked me that 3 years ago, I would have been I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. My life just sucks right now. That would have been my answer. I don't have an answer. My life just sucks right now. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. But now I feel like I have a negative attitude. I have a bad attitude. And I know I have a bad attitude. Before I just lived that way, that was my attitude. My attitude was always bad. There was nothing positive about me or my life around that time. It was full of depression and anxiety, and you would not see me singing or smiling any day of the week. Now, you will see me singing and smiling about random shit. And I do sing random songs. But then I just dwelled there. I lived there. I lived in my depression. I wallowed in my shame and my guilt, and I lived inside that depressive state and inside that anxiety. I lived there, and I allowed my thoughts to stay there, and then my thoughts became my beliefs, and my beliefs just became me having a shitty life, right? So I know my attitude's crap right now, and I know why I'm in a crappy attitude. I know why I have a crappy attitude right now. And I think that it's okay to allow yourself to sit there for a few minutes or an hour or a day and then get the fuck over it, right? Like, that's how I feel. But I think that if we don't, then we're not human beings. If we don't allow ourselves to sit there and, like, sometimes you can snap yourselves out of it, and sometimes you can snap yourself out of a crappy mood, but sometimes you sit, like, you can't talk yourself out of a crappy mood. Sometimes the weather is bad, the day is bad, the people around you are driving you crazy. Like, sometimes you just can't talk yourself out of a shitty mood, okay? And then sometimes you can. So on the days that you can't, it's okay to sit there. It's okay to sit there in that crappy mood, and it's okay to feel what you're feeling, because if you didn't have feelings, we would have a problem bigger than your feelings, because feeling is normal. Having feelings is part of life. Having feelings is part of being human. And also, like, it helps you feel what you're feeling in that current moment, no matter what it is, you know, whether it was a bad day, whether you didn't hit a goal, whether it's shitty outside, whether someone said something to you that you're, like, dwelling on, whatever it is, it allows you to sit there and feel it and kind of adjust your sails accordingly. I know a lot of people say, like, suck it up, and 90, like, you know, you create your, and I say it too, you create your atmosphere. You do. You freaking do. But you cannot have a positive life every single day. It doesn't happen. Especially if you have kids. Especially if you have husbands. Husband, because freaking A, more than one would be way too much. But especially if you have husbands and children and dogs and friends and people around you to take care of, coworkers, whatever. Like, if you have those people in your life, then you're not always going to be happy. There's going to be other things around you that just make you feel crappy that day, or just make you have a bad attitude, and that's okay. But you need to recognize the bad attitude, where it's coming from, wallow in it for a little while, feel your feelings, and get the fuck over it. I haven't gotten to the point of get the fuck over it yet. Not today. But I will. I will. But I think that it's definitely okay to, like, people are always like, oh, you're so positive and so inspirational. Guys, I have shitty days too. I do. But it's how you deal with them. Like how I would have dealt with them 3 years ago when I was in a state of depression and anxiety that I don't wish upon anybody, is a lot different than how I deal with them now. Then I would have just let it go. I would have lived in it, wallowed in it, been in it, stayed in it for years. Okay? I stayed in it for a very long time. Now, I realize it. I don't wallow in it. I know what it's about. And I kind of put it to bed when I go to bed. If I can't get over it within like an hour, if a good song can't get me over it, or a good pep talk can't get me over it, or a freaking coffee or whatever, if none of that can get me over it, then I need to put it to bed with me that night and get over it the next day and start the day over again. So yes, I think it is okay to have a shitty day and have a bad attitude, but I think that it's fine. I just think that we can't sit there, we can't dwell there, we can't stay there. Because we are what our thoughts are. Like, our lives are what goes on in our brain. Like, if I can say that because 3 years ago I was in a depressive, anxious state, and I was in a position where I wouldn't wish upon anybody mentally, and that's what my life was. Depression and anxiety, like, all over the place. And I can see that on my timeline if you look back on this day. What are you doing? You want me to carry you? But compared to like now, where most of the time I am positive, most of the time I do have a better outlook on things, most of the time I'm not negative, but once in a while I have feelings. I'm human. We're human. We have feelings, and if you're not, and if I didn't have feelings, then I wouldn't be normal. And if I didn't have a crappy day once in a while, I wouldn't be normal. But you cannot, hi Alicia, you can't allow yourself to stay there. You can't allow yourself to sit there and dwell in that negativity. whatever it is, whatever someone said to you, whatever isn't done or is done, whatever is consuming you, if you can't get over it within like an hour and a half from a song or a good pep talk or a good personal development book, you're not going to get over it that day, and maybe it's okay. And it's never... Say hi.
Hi.
He climbed up just to say hi to y'all.
Okay.
And it's okay. Like, sometimes these crazy kids of ours, like, they drive us crazy. And sometimes everything's compiled onto each other, and that's okay. But between the weather and maybe like the holiday season, and maybe your kids are acting like jackasses, and who knows, like, things ruin your plans, someone said something to you, whatever it is, or maybe it's all of that in one day, right? It's okay. It's okay to feel that, but it's not okay to stay there. It is not okay to stay there, because if you stay there, you'll live there, and that will become what consumes you every day. And that's not anything I wish upon anybody. So, you know, play a good song, rock out, drive around the neighborhood by yourself. And if it doesn't change your attitude, then go to bed with it. And, you know, rid yourself of it and wake up in the morning a different person. Wake up in the morning positive again. But yes, I think it is okay to have a negative attitude sometimes in this, while we're trying to change our mindset, if we're living in a positive life. Because we're normal. We're human. We just can't stay there. What? I hope you all have a fabulous evening. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.